Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Breckles with Castlebreck. Heiko.
Yeah, Heiko Voigt with Harbor Light in Halifax, and Graham.
And Graham Akers from Brightech Systems in Vancouver, coming to you from IBM Think in San Francisco.
Ooh.
Absolutely. And today is February the 13th. We're recapping the experiences at Think yesterday, Tuesday, February 12th. So, Graham, you attended ICS Community Day, the chairman's address, lots of great stuff on the go. What really grabbed you yesterday?
Yeah, I'll try and keep it short and sweet. So ICS Community Day was fantastic. We had, it started actually with a little video that IBM put together, IBM Marketing put it together, and it was amazing because basically the video started by saying, yeah, we know that we let all of you people that are using Notes and Domino down and neglected the brand for a whole long time, and there was like silence in the room. And then they came back and said, but with the launch of V10, you know, we did this, there was new energy, there was new investment, and then they threw out a whole bunch of stats about like how quickly the downloads happened when the code was launched and how many people participated in the various different forums that they were doing, and talked about the number of people that came back to the brand. They said that over 180 customers came back to renewing their service and support after having let it lapse for some period of time. And they also saw an increase in the number of users that are using the tool since the launch of V10. So it was really, really positive that way. Then Bob Schultz got up and he said, okay, let's talk about, you know, what everybody's thinking and we're not allowed to really talk about, which is the acquisition by HCL. And he says, you know, we're being open about it. There's regulation, so there are certain things that we can't talk about, but feel free to ask your questions, and where we can answer, we will, and where we don't know, but we should know, we'll get answers for you. And obviously there's some stuff that we can't talk about. So that was really good. And then Richard Jeffs got up from HCL and Andrew Mamby got up from IBM. And there was a whole lot of stuff that was just really good, positive energy. Some fantastic demos. Luis Guiriguet showed a bunch of different stuff. The highlights of that was that he's built an Alexa UI, which I smiled at because of what Heiko's already built. But to be able to interact with the database and you know, for example, he showed an approval cycle where he could say to the Alexa, I want to approve this request or whatever. And then he went on to show an example of being able to use Alexa to talk to the Domino server and request. He showed an example of restarting the HTTP task by voice command on the Domino server. So that was really cool. Those are probably the main highlights for the Domino portion. Then we switched over to connections, and Danielle Baptiste got up and more or less said the same thing, that there's been a kind of a lack of investment in connections over the last year and a half, but they've recognized that and are now turning it into the same kind of cadence that's going with Notes and Domino, where they're going to have like quarterly releases. So CR4 was just released, and they showed us some demos of CR5, which included a new community homepage. So instead of when you go to say, you know, all of the communities in my organization and you get a text list, now you get an actual card interface, and they kind of lay out nice and you can search for stuff. So there was a really wonderful improvement in the UI. And the other thing that they demoed was infinite scrolling. So instead of going to a files page and having to go next, previous, or what have you, now it's just an infinite scroll. You scroll down, and if it needs to recache more files, it'll just do a quick call out to the database and come back. So those were very well received. So really positive news on both Notes and Domino and connections. And then they finished off with a really, really neat demo. Luis Guiriguet came back and showed just a total prototype that is by no means polished. They call it DQL Explorer. So they're taking the DQL capabilities that are in Domino 10 and being able to query databases, a no-code browser-based UI for searching for content inside of a Notes application, and being able to extract it out to CSV or a JSON data file, and being able to show you the actual code that's behind the query that you've created from a no-code perspective. They'll actually give you the code in Lotus script, Java, JavaScript. What else did I say? The command to run on the server. So if you want to run the same command on the Domino console, you can do it that way too. So they just blew us away. And I took some videos of those demos. I don't know if they're going to turn out, but if we do get them to turn out, we'll post those as well.
Good stuff.
What else did we do yesterday? We went to the chairman's address, which was pretty good. Ginny got up and talked to a whole variety of different people that were, kind of the typical IBM show that, they want to talk to kind of the big mega customers about the big mega projects. So they talked to AT&T, they talked to an insurance company. It was the main theme was about moving your business to the cloud. So they talked to Red Hat, talked about the Red Hat acquisition and what they're doing there. So I think it was the CEO of Red Hat or something like that. He got up and they had a pretty good conversation. They talked to a local hospital, and then they finished with a really neat little session about helping people. There was an example of a woman who had stepped away from the workforce to raise her family and was looking to get back into the workforce, and IBM's got a program that's helping people who want to either change careers or kind of jumpstart their careers, which was really, really neat to see. A similar thing with military veterans and taking them, giving them the opportunity to reskill and get back into the workforce. And then they had a really neat little story about some inner city schools that were kind of disadvantaged schools where they were investing in technology and training for kids to learn IT and be able to get into jobs very quickly. So they talked about a kid who I forget how old he said. I think he said he was 14 when he started. And he managed to finish a 5-year program in 3 years and do an internship at IBM. And when he was 18 years old, he got called back. He was 18 now. He got called back by IBM, and now he works for IBM. And they had a woman who was an instructor in this program somewhere in the eastern US. And she was just talking about kind of the increase in girls who code and kind of paying attention to the number of girls who are just getting into technology in general. So some just kind of a really good couple of feel-good stories to finish things off. And so that was kind of the highlight for me. I mean, certainly meeting people.
Graham, just a quick question, because I saw something flying by on some of the Twitter lines. Did they talk about offerings regarding Watson on non-IBM cloud platforms like Amazon and Azure? Was that mentioned in the keynote? I don't think so, eh?
I don't recall that they did. Now, there was a lot of conversation. I'm going to say that it might have just slipped past me because there was a lot of conversation in the keynote about hybrid cloud and a lot of AI stuff. They actually, I completely forgot. They talked to the CEO from Geico and talked about how IBM and Geico are doing a lot of work together to essentially move all of Geico's business from on-prem to in the cloud, and how they're kind of re-architecting their entire insurance process to use Watson to interact with people who want to do their insurance, set up their insurance policy online. And so they were talking a lot about kind of, from that perspective, plugging Watson in from AI. But gosh, I don't remember that they were talking about other platforms. They obviously were talking a lot about the IBM side. All right, so as is the case at these sort of events, people show up and come and go, and the good news is that Scott was able to join us, so we're going to jump in with Scott and let him give his update from yesterday.
For sure. Yeah, interesting day. I liked the fact that it felt a lot like we're kind of all back together in one group again, right? As opposed to being kind of spread out around, like last year in Vegas, where it kind of felt like an old Connect a little bit.
Yep.
Which was kind of nice. It was all the own hotel on the own floor. Good. I mean, decent marketing, actually. They had lots of yellow stuff around again. I don't know. You could actually tell that there was, like I said, some community happening. And even, who said that on stage? Someone said that he was even Andrew Manby said, compared to the Portal group that he met, he said that this feels a whole lot different than the Portal. As you know, HCL has taken also the Portal business over, but he said the community was a lot stronger, and I think he meant that. He really meant that than they did with the Portal group. So notice that was great. It seemed fast. Like, I mean, the pace was pretty quick. speakers for the companies, I think they, some of them were a little bit nervous. The one first guy seemed like he was the first time he's ever been on stage, but he basically just talked about his experience as a Domino admin coming from outside of a person who never used Domino before. He was a young guy too, which was not to say that you're old, Graham, but you're old. But yeah, I think they were looking for the perspective of someone in the new generation who is now a Domino administrator. Like I said, you guys are all very young on the phone. This is not present company, not included in this. But he basically gave his overview of what it was like learning it and using it now, and the differences and things he was looking forward to. So that was good. I really liked Louis Gergay's demo. That was pretty cool. Yeah, I'm sure you were, right? Which really, I think the whole gist of that interview was to talk about, or that demo was to talk about the extensibility and the openness that Domino now provides, right? So that was very cool and actually worked. I was expecting the Alexa portion. Did you talk about what he did? Okay. I was expecting that Alexa portion to take forever. Like it was going to be, he was going to talk to it, and then it'd go and run. Like, all right, wait.
It was instantaneous.
It was pretty darn quick.
It was over the conference Wi-Fi, and the responses were almost instantaneous.
Yeah.
The big queries took a little bit of time, but like less than 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Everything else was practically instant.
Yeah. So that, that was great. And you know what I also noticed about that, all just coming from the non-coder perspective, he did everything from the Domino mobile app. He had that.
That's right. I didn't mention that. Yeah.
He didn't even have the notes client running. He had it on. He was doing it via a mobile app and running all the applications from a mobile device. I think that kind of it was lost on a few people, but you could, it was pretty cool, that part of it, right? So, and like I said, the updates happening cross-platform instantaneous. That was great.
Actually, hold on a second. So, is there anything else?
I'm just going to talk DQL and how it doesn't mean much to a non-coder, but it means a ton to you guys, and I understand that now. I'll say that because it was, and then that's about it, really, for updates. Yeah.
Editing symbol again.
All right, and you got some entertainment plans.
Well, tonight's the ICS reception as well.
That's right, the ping pong party.
Yeah,
Okay.
So we are going to do that.
When's ping pong?
Ping pong is tonight. It's there's an actual ping pong club in town. So I don't know. It's close to here somewhere.
7:30, about 2 blocks away.
Yeah, and then the
Are you
Australian.
going or what?
Absolutely.
Oh, so we can start a C3UG ping pong tournament next year or what?
That's right. Sure.
That's right.
Okay.
Well,
Actually,
and then the Aussie party. So tomorrow is the official Bloodshot Eyes Day, right?
It's gonna be a tough one.
All right. Well, I guess we probably want to keep the duration of this. So, any other major things that grabbed you guys?
We'll see.
We're good.
Awesome. All right. Well, busy day at the conference. Have another awesome day, and we'll catch up with you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations to the new lifetime champions, Richard Moy and Daniel Nashid.
That's right. We Richard was here. Daniel didn't make it, but had a chance to talk to Richard and give him a big hug and congratulations for all the work that he's done with Collabster. And of course, he mentioned all the rest of the people that help out with Collabster, and just talked about how much he loves being a part of the community. It was a really good moment.
Awesome. Well deserved.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, gents. Have a good one.
Okay.
See you guys.
See you guys.